When you first start exercising, you're likely to fall into a few traps. As a beginner, you're drawn to flashy, well-advertised fitness videos or articles written for beginners, unfortunately, often by beginners. As you become more advanced, though, you learn that some things work better than others, and you end up leaving behind many of those exercises and training ideas you did from the start. The more you learn, the more you disregard as useless or ineffective. Usually this is for the best. Barbell rows are probably better than row in a towel, and yes, this was an actual thing, but sometimes we let go of things we shouldn't have. Over the last 5 months, I've been experimenting with one of those beginner-friendly fitness ideas for the first time in years, and I've been very happy with the results. Sometime near the end of last year, I was making my way through some old school bodybuilding articles written about famous bodybuilders from the 50s and 60s. You know, just some basic light reading. I lost his name, but there was this one guy who had what must have been the best six-pack of all time. His secret, aside from staying lean and genetics of course, was ultra high rep bodyweight ab exercise. Just the basic stuff. Crunches, sit-ups, beginner exercises. This was strange to see because it's pretty common knowledge at this point that high-rep ab exercise is pointless and doesn't work. At least that's what the science says. Was this guy just an old-timer who didn't know the truth about single-arm, machine, stretch-based lower lat hypertrophy, or was he onto something? Modern wisdom says you'd be better off sticking to weighted, lower rep sets for ab training, similar to any other muscle group because it's easier to reach failure and body weight alone will never be enough. My own experience does confirm at least one side of that wisdom. I've done a lot of weighted ab work in the past and it works very well, but for some reason, ever since that day reading about the old school bodybuilders, I haven't been able to shake the thought that maybe high rep bodyweight ab exercise is a kind of secret weapon I could use to get a better six-pack. It also appealed to me because for a while now, my training program has been completely full. There's no chance I'd have the mental willpower to do more high-intensity work for my abs. Sandbags and calisthenics has taken up everything I have, so some low-intensity exercise sounded like a good way to go. 5 months ago now, I decided to go all in. I started doing basic ab exercises at the end of my workouts every single day, 7 days a week. It hasn't been much. A big part of me didn't expect anything, modern wisdom in my mind and all that, and I figured it'd be better to keep the volume relatively low, so even if it didn't work out, at least it wouldn't take away from the rest of my training. But at the end of every workout, I've been doing 100 sit-ups, 50 oblique crunches per side, and leg raises if I feel like it, and usually I don't. For the sake of clarity, this is in addition to the ab work I do during my calisthenic circuits and all the heavy sandbag lifting, both of which have undoubtedly had an impact on the results, but I was already doing that stuff for a long time before I started this experiment, so the bodyweight ab exercise is the only new variable. During these 5 months, I haven't added any reps to the sets. It's been exactly the same rep scheme every day, but I have been working on doing every rep with as much explosive intent as I can manage, so there has been some progressive overload in that way. The first thing I noticed is basic sit-ups are seriously underrated. I had to work pretty hard to get through a set of 50 that first day, which seems ridiculous coming from someone who throws multi-person sized sandbags onto his shoulder for fun a couple times every week, but it's the truth. That burn can actually be pretty intense, and my abs were sore for the first few days. Once I got into the habit, it was just a matter of waiting. I didn't give the ab work much thought for that first month. It only took 5 minutes or so, and it was kinda just a part of my workouts I went through on autopilot. About a month in though, I started noticing a real change. For the sake of making my videos as motivating as I can, I always try to show only the very best footage from my workouts. I think everyone does this. You're more likely to have a bigger impact if you look better, so I try to look as good as I can. For that reason, I used to avoid sharing videos of me shouldering sandbags without a shirt on because that position would get rid of all definition in my abs. Something about that angle just made them disappear. Seems like a silly thing to even think about, but it comes up when you're trying to put your best foot forward. Well, over these last few months, that's become a complete non-issue. If you've seen my recent sandbag videos, my abs actually stand out as a strong point now. Part of that development is from all the heavy sandbag lifting, but there's no denying the impact those bodyweight ab exercises have had. The definition is so much better than it used to be. I'd say more about it, but I think the results speak for themselves. The experiment worked. The time and energy investment has been so low, less than 5 minutes a day doing the basic, easy ab exercises we're taught to avoid, and it actually had a significant impact on how I look. It makes you wonder what other things we've stopped doing over the years that are actually effective. Maybe it's partly nostalgia for those early days of training when everything was new and exciting, but I can't help but wonder what else is out there. nothing is more motivating than a secret, which leads me on to the second and more significant benefit to the high rep bodyweight ab exercise: improved strength lifting sandbags. I think the reason a lot of you like my sandbag videos so much is because they're an attempt to discover a secret, an unknown. Sandbag training isn't talked about much compared to everything else, which has allowed it to retain some of its mystery. That's what first drew me to sandbags. Could something so basic and primitive actually be so effective? Every day lifting sandbags has felt like a quest into unexplored territory, and every day seems to come with its own new discovery. The connection between high rep ab exercise and sandbags is one such discovery. With any kind of heavy lifting, barbell squats and deadlifts, say snatch or clean and jerk, lifting a stone or lifting a sandbag, the single most important thing you need to master is breathing and bracing. It's not talked about enough, probably because it's basic and not nearly as flashy as other things, but a strong, solid core is the difference between you successfully lifting heavy things injury-free and not. I've spent a lot of time working on perfecting the Valsalva maneuver, breathing and bracing, and I think I'm pretty good at it, but the high rep ab exercise has taken me to an entirely new level. It's as if all those reps have doubled my mind's connection with the muscles in my core, the muscles responsible for proper bracing. This might not seem like a big thing, but it is. If you've been lifting heavy for a while, you'll know there are those days where, for whatever reason, you can't seem to breathe deeply enough or brace hard enough, like there's a block and you're only able to breathe halfway. This makes it very difficult to feel sturdy when lifting anything heavy. The high rep ab exercise has gotten rid of that. The second I decide it's time to brace my core, it's there, like I just spent 20 minutes working on it directly. It's like I'm constantly wearing a lifting belt, just without the movement restrictions. The main benefit to an actual lifting belt, in my opinion at least, is the sensory feedback you get from the feeling of the belt against your body. That feedback makes it easier to brace because it feels like you have something to brace against. The ab exercise has made my connection with my core so strong that I get a similar sensation even without a belt. It's a very reassuring feeling, and it's made me much more confident lifting sandbags. And that's really all I have. Daily, basic, easy bodyweight ab training has had a significant impact on how I look and how I perform. Who would have thought? As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.